Everyone, welcome back to We Will Latina and Classical Art. In this video, we'll be going over Etruscan art and Roman Republic art. So starting off with Etruscan, it's from the 9th to 2nd centuries BC, and the Etruscans were kind of like the predecessors to the Romans. So they're in that same area, and then we'll see the influences of their art in the Roman art later. So starting off, we have tombs, and a lot of what we know about the Etruscans comes from their tombs because of those frescoes in them that depict scenes of everyday life, mythology, funeral rites, feasting, dancing, swimming, fishing, all those kinds of things. And they're usually depicted in bright colors and a lively style. But when their civilization starts to decline because of Rome's expansion, it's reflected in their art and it becomes a little more somber. But starting off, we have the Tomb of Hunting and Fishing on the left here. And then this is from around 520 BC in Tarquinia. And then on the upper right, we have the Tomb of the Triclinium, which is from around 480 BC, also in Tarquinia. And Triclinium was the name for the Romans' dining room, and it's the triclinium because of the three couches. So this is, a scene of their feasting and their parties. And then on the bottom right, we have the Tomb of the Reliefs, which is from the 4th century BC in Caerweteri, and it imitates the interior of a house, and it's covered with relief sculptures of weapons, armor, household objects, small animals, all those kinds of things. And so instead of like the fresco wall paintings, like these other two shown on the slide, these are like reliefs. So they're like three-dimensional and then they're also painted on, but they have that three-dimensional aspect. So next we have the sculpture of the Etruscans. So you'll see the two main materials that they used were terracotta and bronze. So first we have these two very famous terracotta examples. So on the left, we have the Apollo of Veii, which is from around 550 BC. And it's a terracotta statue of Apollo, kind of in the archaic style. And then it decorated a temple pediment. So like stuff we've talked about in an earlier video, it's in this archaic style. It has wig-like hair, it has an archaic smile. It's kind of stiff, not a ton of contrapposto going on there. And then it decorated the temple pediment. So again, that's the triangle at the top of a temple. And so that would have been, up pretty high, so it didn't need to be super detailed. And again, it's made of terracotta. And then on the right here, we have the sarcophagus of the spouses, which is from around 520 BC. And you can see them reclining. And again, this has to do with funeral rites, and it is made from terracotta. Then we have these two very famous bronze examples. So on the left, we have the Capitoline wolf, which is from around 480 BC. And this has Romulus and Remus, and it kind of shows the famous story of Romulus and Remus being nursed by a she-wolf when they were abandoned. And so this is, kind of the foundation of Rome here. And then on the bottom right, we have the Chimera of Arezzo, which is from around 400 BC. And the Chimera was a mythological monster that Bellerophon fought. So again, this is like their mythological stories coming out in their art. And then this is Bucero pottery. So like we talked about earlier with those different styles of decoration, there is orientalizing, black figure, red figure. This Bucero pottery is very specifically characterized by its shiny black surface, this material that it's made with. And you can tell that it's carved, the decoration is carved into there rather than being painted on. So that's all for Etruscan art, and we're going to move on to Roman Republic. So first we have some of these temples. So the earliest Roman temples were adapted from Etruscan architecture. So they had high podiums, deep porches with widely spaced columns, gabled roofs covered with terracotta tiles, and large antefixes along the edge of the roof. So on the left here, we have the sanctuary of we have the Temple of Fortuna Virilis, which is from 125 BC, and it's in the Forum Boarium. Rome had a lot of forum areas, and they were named after different things. So Forum is the forum of the cows because that's where they would do cow trading, and it's a fusion of Greek and Tuscan traditions. So you can see with these Ionic columns, it would be in the Ionic order, and then it might be a little hard to tell, but the roof is terracotta tiles. So again, terracotta is very closely associated with the Etruscans. And then on the right here, we have the Sanctuary of Fortuna at Praeneste, and it's from the 1st century BC. So it's a large temple complex laid out on a steep hillside with a series of ramps and terraces that led up to a colonnade court. And it illustrates the early use of arches, barrel vaults, concrete, which all became very important in Roman architecture later with aqueducts and the Colosseum, all those types of things. Next, we have the portraiture of the Roman Republic. So this is where we see the introduction of verism, which is just from the Latin word for truth. So instead of these idealized pictures of people, they would include all the wrinkles and warts and all that type of stuff. So we had with the classical period, everything was idealized, and then with the Hellenistic period, it was a little more real, a little more emotion. But with this Roman Republic portraiture, it is very realistic, trying to be true to the actual appearance of the people. And two examples of these are the Capitoline Brutus on the left, which was a bronze, and again, this is Brutus from early Republican history, and it's cast in bronze. And then we have on the right, Pompey the Great, which is characterized by small eyes, a bulbous nose, puffy face, aka the real Pompey. It's not idealizing him at all. And he has this thick tousled hair that is reminiscent of Lysippus's portraits of Alexander the Great. So a lot of times in art, it was used as a tool to communicate to the public, how these people wanted to be perceived. So Pompey the Great was kind of comparing himself to Alexander the Great with this.